James will be taking over Mason Industries and inheriting the estate, my father announced at the family dinner, his voice firm and unyielding. He's proven himself more capable and deserving of the Mason legacy. I sat there, gripping my fork so tight my knuckles turned white, watching my adopted brother's smug smile grow wider. My name is Daniel Mason. I'm 32, and I just watched my birthright being handed to someone my parents had adopted merely 5 years ago. But Dad, I started, trying to keep my voice steady. I've worked at Mason Industries since I was 16. I helped build the medical research division from which has shown minimal growth under your leadership. He cut me off sharply. James has brought in triple the revenue in his department in just 2 years. The board agrees. He's the future of Mason Industries. My mother sat quietly, adjusting her pearl necklace, her nervous tell when she agreed with my father but didn't want to say it aloud. James, 28, leaned back in his chair, radiating satisfaction. I've earned this, brother, he said, his voice dripping with false sympathy. Maybe if you'd spent less time in the lab and more time making actual business decisions. The lab, my sanctuary. The place where I'd developed 3 of our most successful medical patents, working countless nights while James schmoozed with board members and played golf with Dad. But apparently that meant nothing compared to James's ability to charm investors and make flashy presentations. The decision is final, Dad declared, standing up. The paperwork will be signed tomorrow. James will be named CEO and primary heir to the Mason estate. I looked at my mother, searching for any sign of support. She avoided my gaze, suddenly very interested in her untouched dessert. Mom, your father knows what's best for the company, Daniel, she said softly. James has shown exceptional leadership qualities. Maybe this will be good for you, give you time to find yourself. Find myself. At 32, after dedicating my entire adult life to the family company, I've already found myself, I replied, standing up slowly. I'm the one who developed the treatments that saved thousands of lives. I'm the one who, that's enough, my father snapped. This isn't about your little science projects. This is about the future of Mason Industries. James understands the bigger picture. I looked around the table, at my father's stern disappointment, my mother's averted eyes, and James's triumphant smirk. Something inside me broke. My little science projects, I repeated quietly. You mean like the cancer treatment protocol that saved Uncle Robert, or the autoimmune therapy that your golf buddy's daughter uses? Daniel, my mother started, but I was done. Keep the company, I said, throwing my napkin on the table. Keep the estate, keep everything. I'll be clearing out my lab tomorrow. Don't be dramatic, James called after me as I headed for the door. You can still have a position in the company. Under my leadership, of course. I stopped at the doorway, turning back one last time. You know what's funny? You all think you know everything about legacy and bloodlines. But sometimes the truth has a way of coming out. My father frowned. What's that supposed to mean? You'll find out soon enough, I replied, thinking about the DNA test results sitting in my lab safe. Results that would shake the very foundation of the Mason legacy. As I drove home that night, my phone buzzed repeatedly. Probably my mother trying to smooth things over, or James sending more condescending messages about accepting reality. I ignored them all. In my apartment, I pulled out the file I'd been keeping secret for months. The genetic testing had been part of a routine analysis for our new personalized medicine program. I never expected it to reveal what it did. James wasn't just adopted, he was my father's biological son, born from an affair years ago. A truth that would explain my father's instant connection with him, his rapid rise in the company, and the constant comparisons that always left me wanting. But that wasn't even the biggest revelation in those test results. There was another truth, one that would change everything, one that would make them regret ever questioning my place in the family. My phone buzzed again, a message from the hospital. My father's test results were in, and they needed to speak with me urgently. I smiled grimly at the irony. Sometimes, karma has perfect timing. The hospital waiting room was eerily quiet as I sat there, clutching the DNA results in my briefcase. My father had collapsed during a board meeting, shortly after signing over the company to James. Now he lay in the ICU, his condition deteriorating rapidly. Mr. Mason, Dr. Peterson approached me, her face grave. We've identified your father's condition. It's a rare genetic disorder affecting his blood cells. The treatment requires an immediate bone marrow transplant from a close genetic match. I nodded slowly, already knowing where this was heading. Have you tested James? Yes, she replied, checking her notes. Unfortunately, despite being his biological son, he's not a compatible match. The genetic markers we need are extremely specific. From the corner of my eye, I saw my mother and James rushing through the hospital doors. James looked disheveled, far from his usual polished self. My mother's mascara was streaked with tears. Daniel, she called out, hurrying over. Why didn't you answer our calls? Your father, She broke down, unable to finish. James stepped forward, trying to maintain his authority despite the fear in his eyes. The doctors say he needs a family member's bone marrow. I wasn't a match, they're saying, without a compatible donor. He trailed off, running his hands through his hair in frustration. I know, I said quietly. About everything. My mother looked confused, but James's face paled slightly. What do you mean? I pulled out the genetic test results from my briefcase. Interesting thing about DNA testing. It reveals all sorts of secrets, like how you're dad's biological son from an affair. I turned to my mother, whose hand flew to her mouth. Yes, Mom, you're perfect. James isn't just adopted, he's dad's love child. How dare you? James started, but I cut him off. But that's not even the biggest revelation, I continued, my voice steady. You see, I'm not just dad's son, I'm his only chance at survival. Dr. Peterson stepped forward. Mr. Mason is correct. Our tests show he's the only viable match for the transplant. Without his bone marrow, your husband's chances of survival are less than 10%. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother stared at me, then at James, her world visibly crumbling around her. James looked like he'd been slapped. You knew, he accused. You knew all along, and you didn't say anything. Like you said, brother, I replied, emphasizing the last word with bitter irony. I spend a lot of time in the lab, running tests, analyzing results, finding truths. Daniel, please, my mother pleaded, finally finding her voice. Whatever issues we have, your father needs you. I stood up slowly, straightening my jacket. Now you need me. Now I'm important to the family. Not when you were signing away my inheritance. Not when you were dismissing my work as little science projects. What do you want? James demanded. The company back. The estate? Fine, take it. I laughed quietly. You still don't get it. This isn't about the company or the estate. This is about respect, recognition, family. Dr. Peterson cleared her throat. I apologize for interrupting, but we need an answer soon. The procedure needs to be started within the next 24 hours, for the best chance of success. I looked at my mother, who had sunk into a chair, looking older than I'd ever seen her. At James, whose carefully constructed world was falling apart. At Dr. Peterson, waiting patiently for my decision. I'll do it, I said finally. Not for you, I looked at James, or for the company. I'll do it because, unlike some people in this family, I understand what legacy really means. Thank you, my mother whispered, reaching for my hand. I pulled away gently. Don't thank me yet. We're going to have a long conversation about truth and consequences when this is over. All of us. As Dr. Peterson led me away to prep for the procedure, I heard James call out behind me. Daniel, wait. I paused but didn't turn around. I'm sorry, he said, his voice lacking its usual confidence. I didn't know about any of this. No, I replied. You didn't know a lot of things, but you're about to learn. 3 weeks after the bone marrow transplant, I stood in my father's hospital room, watching him slowly regain his strength. The procedure had been successful, but the recovery was taking its toll, not just physically, but emotionally on everyone involved. Daniel, my father called out weakly from his bed. The mighty Richard Mason, who once commanded boardrooms with his presence, now looked fragile against the white hospital sheets. We need to talk. Yes, we do, I replied, taking a seat beside him. About everything. He nodded slowly, his eyes clearer than they'd been in days. I saw the DNA results. Dr. Peterson explained everything. He paused, struggling with his next words. About James. About you saving my life. It's funny, I interrupted, how life has a way of revealing truths we try to hide. You spent years pushing me aside for James, never knowing that your survival would depend on the son you dismissed. Tears formed in his eyes, something I'd never seen before. I was wrong, so terribly wrong. The door opened, and my mother entered with James. The atmosphere instantly tensed. None of us had been in the same room together since the night of the transplant. Family meeting. James attempted a weak joke, but his voice cracked. Perfect timing, I said, standing up. We all need to hear this. My father struggled to sit up straighter. I've made mistakes, terrible mistakes that hurt this family. James, he turned to him. I should have told you the truth about your birth. And Daniel, his voice broke slightly. I should have valued you for who you are, not who I wanted you to be. The company, James started, but I cut him off. This isn't about the company anymore. This is about truth, about real family values, not the ones we put in corporate brochures. My mother stepped forward, her hands trembling. I knew about James, she confessed. I knew he was your father's son when we adopted him. I thought I could make up for your father's mistake by giving James a home. But in trying to right one wrong, I committed another by hurting you, Daniel. The room fell silent, as her words hung in the air. All these years, I said quietly, I thought I wasn't good enough. That my work, my dedication, my loyalty somehow fell short. But now I realize, the failure wasn't mine, it was yours. I looked at each of them in turn. All of yours. James slumped against the wall. What happens now? With the company, with everything. I pulled out a folder from my briefcase. I've had my lawyers draw up new papers. The company returns to shared ownership, equal parts between us, James. Because despite everything, you are good at what you do, and I'm good at what I do. You'd still work with me, after everything? James asked, disbelief in his voice. Mason Industries needs both of us. Your business acumen, my research. That's what will truly honor the family legacy, not this petty power struggle. My father reached for the papers with shaking hands. You're a better man than I ever was, Daniel. No, I replied firmly. I'm just the man you never took the time to know. I turned to James. The board meeting is tomorrow. We'll announce the new structure then. Equal partners, equal respect. James nodded slowly. I'd like that, a fresh start. My mother wiped her tears. Can we all have a fresh start? I looked at my family, broken, flawed, but perhaps not beyond repair. That depends on all of you. Real change requires more than words. It requires action, respect and time. We'll do better, my father promised. I'll do better. As I left the hospital that evening, I felt lighter somehow. Not because everything was fixed. It wasn't, and wouldn't be for a long time. But because finally the truth was out, the masks had fallen, and real healing could begin. 6 months later, Mason Industries celebrated its most successful quarter ever. The medical research division, under my leadership, launched 2 groundbreaking treatments, while James's business strategies opened new markets. We worked together, not as rivals but as brothers who finally understood each other's strengths. My father retired, focusing on rebuilding relationships rather than corporate empires. My mother started therapy, confronting her role in the family dynamics. And James, well, James became the brother I never expected to have. Sometimes, it takes a crisis to reveal the truth. And sometimes, the truth, however painful, is exactly what a family needs to heal. The Mason legacy wasn't just about success anymore. It was about redemption, understanding, and the power of second chances. Standing in my lab, looking out over the city, I realized that sometimes, losing an inheritance leads to gaining something far more valuable: authentic family bonds built on truth, respect, and mutual understanding.